The waiter brought dessert with a candle on top. Everyone sang happy birthday. I closed my eyes, made a wish, and blew it out. Then my son reached across the table and handed me a folded piece of paper. I thought it was a card, maybe a heartfelt note. But when I opened it, my hands started shaking. It was a bill, itemized, detailed, $800 for tonight's dinner, my own birthday dinner. He expected me to pay, right there in front of everyone. I looked up at him, smiled, and did something no one saw coming. My name is Linda. I'm 62 years old, and I worked as a nurse for 37 years before I retired last spring. I raised 2 boys on my own after their father left when they were just babies. He walked out one morning and never came back. No explanation, no support, just gone. So I did what I had to do. I worked double shifts. I skipped meals so they could eat. I wore the same coat for 10 winters so they could have new shoes. I never complained. That's what mothers do, right? We sacrifice. We give. We love without keeping score. My oldest son, Marcus, was always ambitious. Smart, driven, focused on success. He got into a good college, graduated with honors, and built a career in finance. He married a woman named Vanessa, and they had 2 kids. From the outside, his life looked perfect. Big house, fancy cars, expensive vacations. But somewhere along the way, Marcus changed. He became obsessed with money. Every conversation turned into a discussion about investments, profits, expenses. He started talking about people in terms of what they could offer him, even family. I noticed it years ago, but I ignored it. I told myself he was just being practical. He had a family to provide for, responsibilities. But deep down, I knew something had shifted in him. The sweet boy who used to hug me goodnight had become a man who calculated the cost of everything, including love. Still, when he called last month and said he wanted to take me out for my birthday, I was touched. He said he'd make a reservation at a nice restaurant, invite the family, make it special. I hadn't celebrated my birthday in years. I thought maybe, just maybe, this was his way of showing he still cared. I should have known better. The restaurant was beautiful. White tablecloth, soft lighting, flowers on every table. Marcus had chosen well. When I arrived, everyone was already seated. Marcus and Vanessa, my younger son David and his wife, and my 2 precious grandchildren from Marcus. I felt happy, loved, like maybe I mattered after all. We ordered appetizers, entrees, desserts. The waiter kept refilling our wine glasses. Marcus insisted I try the lobster. "It's your birthday, Mom. Get whatever you want." So I did. I ordered the special. I laughed with my grandkids. I felt for a moment like things were normal, but I noticed something strange. Every time the waiter came by, Marcus would nod and say, "Put it on the tab." At first, I thought nothing of it, but then Vanessa ordered a second bottle of expensive wine. Then Marcus ordered an extra appetizer for the table. Then the kids wanted the most expensive desserts on the menu. My younger son David looked uncomfortable. He kept glancing at Marcus, then at me. His wife whispered something in his ear, and he shook his head. I didn't understand what was happening, but I felt a knot forming in my stomach. When dessert came, they brought out a small cake with a candle. Everyone sang. I smiled, blew out the candle, and thanked them. That's when Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "Here, Mom," he said, sliding it across the table. "I wanted to give you this before we leave." I thought it was a birthday card, maybe a check, like he'd given me before. So I opened it, smiling. But it wasn't a card, it was a bill. A detailed, itemized bill. Every dish listed, every drink, every appetizer. The total at the bottom, written in bold, $817. I stared at it. My heart pounded in my chest. I looked up at Marcus. He was smiling, actually smiling. "What is this?" I asked quietly. "The bill for tonight," he said casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "I figured since it's your birthday, you'd want to treat everyone. You know, as a thank you for us coming." The table went silent. David's mouth fell open. His wife looked horrified. Even Vanessa shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I couldn't breathe. My own son, my firstborn, the child I sacrificed everything for. He was charging me for my own birthday dinner. I looked down at the bill again. Lobster tail, $48. Filet mignon, $62. Bottle of wine, $95. Another bottle, $95. Appetizers, desserts, coffees, all listed, all calculated, all expected to be paid by me. "Marcus," I said slowly, my voice shaking, "you invited me to dinner. You said you wanted to celebrate my birthday." He shrugged. "Yeah, and we did. But you're retired now, Mom. You've got your pension, your savings. You can afford it. Vanessa and I have been really tight on money lately. The kids' private school is expensive, the mortgage. You understand?" I felt like I'd been slapped. This man sitting across from me in his designer suit, telling me he couldn't afford to pay for dinner. This man who just came back from a vacation in Europe. This man who drove a car worth more than my entire yearly income. David stood up suddenly. "Marcus, what the hell are you doing?" "Stay out of this, David," Marcus said coldly. "This is between Mom and me." "No," David said, his voice rising. "This is insane. You invited her to dinner. You don't charge your own mother for her birthday." Marcus's face hardened. "I'm just being practical. Mom's always telling us to be responsible with money. Well, this is responsibility. Everyone pays their share." I looked around the table. The grandkids looked confused. Vanessa wouldn't meet my eyes. David's wife had tears running down her cheeks, and Marcus just sat there, waiting, expecting me to pull out my credit card and pay. For a moment, I thought about doing it, just paying, avoiding the scene, keeping the peace. That's what I'd always done, right? Kept the peace, made everyone comfortable, put everyone else first. But then something inside me snapped, not in anger, in clarity. I realized, sitting there with that bill in my hands, that I had raised a man who saw me as a transaction, a resource to be used, not a mother, not a person, just a wallet. And I was done being used, done being taken for granted, done sacrificing for people who would never appreciate it. So I folded the bill carefully, set it back on the table, and stood up. "I'm not paying this," I said calmly. Marcus's face turned red. "What do you mean you're not paying?" "I mean exactly what I said. I'm not paying for this dinner. You invited me. You chose the restaurant. You ordered the expensive wine. You wanted to celebrate my birthday, so you pay for it." "Mom, don't be ridiculous," he said, his voice tight. "You have the money." "That's not the point, Marcus." I picked up my purse. "The point is that you thought it was okay to trick me, to make me think you cared, when really you just wanted someone to foot the bill." "I do care," he protested, but his voice was hollow. "No, you don't," I said it quietly but firmly. "If you cared, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have humiliated me in front of my family. You wouldn't have turned my birthday into a business transaction." Vanessa finally spoke. "Linda, we really are struggling financially right now." I looked at her. "Then maybe don't order 2 bottles of $95 wine. Maybe don't take your kids to Europe every summer. Maybe learn what struggling actually means." I turned to David. "Thank you for standing up for me. That means more than you know." Then I looked at my grandchildren and smiled. "I love you both. Always remember that." Marcus stood up, his face furious. "If you walk out of here, don't expect me to help you when you're old and sick. Don't expect me to visit. Don't expect anything." I felt tears sting my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "Marcus, I never expected anything. I gave because I loved you. But love isn't supposed to be a debt, and I'm not paying for yours anymore." I walked out of that restaurant with my head high. I didn't look back. I heard David calling after me, but I kept walking. I got in my car, drove home, and sat in the silence of my living room. Then I cried. Not because I was hurt, though I was, but because I was free. Free from the guilt. Free from the obligation to keep giving to someone who only knew how to take. The next morning, David came to see me. He hugged me tight and apologized for his brother. I told him he had nothing to apologize for. He slipped an envelope into my hand before he left. Inside was a card that read, "Happy birthday, Mom. You deserved better. Love, David." Inside the card was $800. I cried again, but this time, they were good tears. It's been 3 months since that dinner. Marcus hasn't called, hasn't texted, hasn't apologized, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I spent so many years trying to be enough for him, trying to earn his love, his respect. I finally understand that some people will never see your worth, no matter what you do. David and I are closer than ever. He brings the kids over every Sunday. We bake cookies, we watch movies, we talk, really talk. He tells me I should have stood up to Marcus years ago, and maybe he's right. But I wasn't ready then. I am now. I framed the card David gave me, not because of the money, but because of what it represents. That not all my sacrifices were wasted, that I raised at least one son who understands what love really means. Sometimes the people who take the most from us teach us the greatest lessons. They teach us when to stop giving, when to walk away, when to choose ourselves. I don't regret walking out of that restaurant. I don't regret refusing to pay, because that night, I didn't just refuse a bill. I refused to be treated as less than I am, as less than I deserve. My name is Linda. I worked my whole life. I gave everything to my children, and when one of them tried to make me pay for love, I finally learned the most important lesson of all. You can't buy love. You can't earn it through sacrifice. It's either freely given or it's not love at all, and I deserve better.